downgrades Pakistan's outlook to negative from stable, and Africa's growth forecast cut to 3.5%. You're watching the Daily Brief with Forbes. I'm Ramia Faraj. Moody's has downgraded Pakistan's outlook from stable to negative. The decision to change the outlook to negative is driven by Pakistan's heightened external vulnerability risk and uncertainty around its ability to secure additional external financing to meet its needs. Moody's says its external vulnerability risk has been amplified by rising inflation. This puts downward pressure on the current account, the currency, and already thin foreign exchange reserves, especially in the context of heightened political and social risk. Global Data has revised its 2022 growth forecast for Africa to 3.5% from its earlier projection of 3.7%. It says despite African nations recovering from their worst recession in half a century in 2021, the war in Ukraine is having a direct and indirect impact. Groceries account for around 40% of consumer spending in Africa, and the continent is heavily affected by the sharp rise in prices. High public debt and rising global interest rates are depleting fiscal stimulus and borrowing opportunities for the government. Al-Futtaim Group says it's eyeing investments in Egypt worth between $700 million and $1 billion over the next 3 years, according to an Egyptian cabinet statement. GCC countries are channeling up to $22 billion to Egypt to help it overcome a currency crisis, the third such rescue in a decade. ADNOC Logistics and Services will purchase 3 additional LNG vessels to bolster capacity as it responds to growing global demand for LNG. The new-build LNG vessels are significantly larger than the current ADNOC fleet. They bring the total number of new-build LNG vessels ordered to 5, with the vessels scheduled for delivery in 2025 and 2026. All 5 vessels will be built in China. Denata will invest $100 million in green operations in the next 2 years to enhance environmental efficiency across its global network. Officials say Denata's investment in infrastructure, equipment, and process improvement will help it achieve its strategic objectives and reduce its carbon footprint by 20% by 2024 and by 50% by 2030. Denata has already installed renewable energy features like solar panels, heat recovery units, and electric vehicle charging at its existing facilities. Abu Dhabi-based streaming platform Stars Play Arabia says it expects to go public in the next 2 to 3 years. Stars Play is vying for a share of the burgeoning Middle East market. It has 2.2 million subscribers, up from just shy of 2 million at the end of 2021. Netflix leads in this region. Stars Play takes the second spot ahead of Amazon and Saudi Arabia-based NBC Group's Shahid. Disney Plus will launch in the MENA next week. To Europe, and Germany will buy 60 Chinook heavy-lift helicopters from Boeing to replace its aging Sikorsky fleet for an undisclosed amount. In a major policy shift, Germany pledged in February to sharply increase defense spending with a $106.9 billion injection. The aim is to bring the military's weapons and equipment back up to standard after decades of attrition following the end of the Cold War. Northern European countries are discussing plans to create a common power grid under the North Sea. It will connect future offshore wind farms in a bid to strengthen energy security, but the ambitious proposal faces financing and regulatory challenges. Europe has announced pledges to build huge amounts of offshore wind farms, spurred partly by the need to cut heavy reliance on Russian oil and gas. Volvo Car Group's May sales were down 28.3% from a year previous as supply chain problems and lockdowns hampered production. The Sweden-based automaker says demand remains strong, especially for its Recharge lineup of electric and hybrid models. Fully electric cars accounted for 7.9% of its May sales. Volvo is majority owned by China's Geely Holding Sales. It aims for 50% of its sales to be pure electric cars by 2025. Let's take a look now at today's Forbes Real-Time Billionaires ranking. It tracks the daily ups and downs of the world's richest people. Our biggest loser today is Elon Musk, down $4.3 billion with net wealth of $225.5 billion. Our second biggest loser today is Mark Zuckerberg, down $1.7 billion with net wealth of $67.7 billion. And our third place loser is Klaus Michael Kuhne, down $1.4 billion with net wealth of $39.3 billion. Check out our website and our social media for all of the latest billionaires news. 18-time NBA All-Star LeBron James has officially become a billionaire while still playing hoops. After another huge year of earnings totaling $121.2 million last year, Forbes estimates the 37-year-old superstar has a net worth of $1 billion. James is the first active NBA player to make the billionaires list. Michael Jordan, the only other basketball billionaire, didn't hit 10 figures until 2014, more than a decade after he retired. I'm Ramia Faraj. This is the Daily Brief. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.